Okay, guys, let's do this next part. I'm not gonna lie, my dog and cat are playing really loud, so they may have worn themselves out, but you might hear some craziness, and that's what that is. So, this next section has to do with newly active groups under the civil rights umbrella. It's a much shorter section, so we'll go a little faster. So a couple things to know is, this idea of graying of America, what that refers to is older people. Okay. And as you probably are remembering from US history, hopefully, after World War II, we used to have the baby boom generation begin, and technically it's 46 right after the war. But it's going to last for a couple decades, pretty big group. But that group of the baby boomers, so they're like 75 years old right now, and so they're getting older and older. So your book was talking about this 20 years ago, and it is even more of an important group, or important topic now, as that group is a larger percentage of our population. So, new activist groups now realize that policies that were enacted to protect racial minorities and women can also be applied to other groups. Aging Americans, young Americans, the disabled, and homosexuals have begun to exert their own demands for civil rights. So, let's see, your this little added thing goes a little out of order, so let me pick it back up here. So people in their 80s comprise the fastest growing age group in this country. It is not clear what the fate of the gray liberation movement will be as its members approach the status of minority majority. So that is kind of a funny term, gray liberation movement. But definitely, I think too, as the older group, I kind of joke. I say like 70 is the new 50. Like, I don't know. My dad is 76, and he's still, extremely active. He flies a little plane that he just, he got his pilot's license about 10 years ago. He flies a little plane. He's got fast cars. Like, he just, he plays a lot of golf. He's very, very, very busy. And still like very able body and sound mind and all that. We're very fortunate. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Whereas, I remember like visiting my grandparents who would have been, that age group or whatnot. And it seemed like, they were much more in a slower pace by that time. So I think it's interesting with, how much improved our lifestyles have been. That's really played a role in our older populations as well in their general overall health. All right. Now let's see. Okay, I'm gonna throw one in here. It's not on this outline here, but the supplement book has this that might interest you. So, young people have also suffered from inferior treatment under the law. There are obvious difficulties in organizing a children's rights movement, but there have been instances of young people who were successful in asserting their rights. And it's funny because this supplement includes this, including a youth who divorced his parents, as if there was only one at the time that this book was published. And of course, that's called Emancipated, and that doesn't happen frequently. It's actually, I mean, it's a process, but it definitely has happened more than one. So it's kind of funny to see some of these things in your book. All right, going back to letter B. So people with disabilities, there was the American with Disabilities Act in 1990, and that required employers and public facilities to make, excuse me, reasonable accommodations and prohibited employment discrimination against the disabled. I will tell you guys, during my time here in Dixon, so last 19 years, I want to say we were at the old high school when this happened. There was an advocate for people with disabilities. He was in his wheelchair as well, but he would go to towns and basically like alert the townspeople, hey, you're in the city council and whatnot. Hey, these are issues. Like, this is not right. And so then cities would have, an opportunity to try to fix things. If not, he was also a lawyer, and he would start to file lawsuits. So that was kind of a big up to do, because I remember in Dixon they had to, and in a lot of places, one of the things was the sidewalks. They had to rip them, the corners out and make a lip so someone in a wheelchair could safely get off of the sidewalk and go into a crosswalk or whatnot. And so I remember that. And I want to say too, in some places, oh my God, a lamp just almost not gotten us over. You guys, come on, easy. So I want to say in some instances too, they have those before the crosswalks. They have that like bubbly, yellow bubbly, or sometimes it's just like pebbled. So that way you like, or like if you were sight handicap, if you're blind, you could feel it maybe with your feet or whatnot. So just different things. But I remember that was a pretty big deal. It kind of freaked a lot of people out because it's like, oh my God, we got to make these changes. And you do. It's called ADA. You have to be ADA compliant. So so yeah, definitely Americans with disabilities have suffered from both direct and indirect discrimination. The ADA Act requires employers, like I said, to provide reasonable accommodations. And that's actually a quote from the act. So reasonable accommodations, and prohibits the employment discrimination that I have listed right there. All right, and then gay and lesbian rights, and again, this shows the age of your textbook. So LGBTQ rights, is how we would refer to it today. So they may have faced the toughest battle for equality. Homosexual activity is illegal in some states, and homosexuals often face prejudice in hiring, education, access to public accommodations, and housing. And a substantial percentage of the American public, however, express opposition to homosexuals entering many common occupations. However, gay activists have won some important victories. Okay, at the time this book was made, so we'd have to look it up, but 7 states and more than 100 communities have passed laws protecting homosexuals against some form of discrimination. So, yeah, that has definitely increased and improved since this book came out. But a couple of important things on that front. Of course, Harvey Milk was a really, really important figure for in the fight for gay rights. He was, of course, a San Francisco supervisor elected. The supervisors were elected from different areas of the city. He was elected from the Castro section of the city, and he was a great, politician. And he wasn't necessarily, trying to just fight for gay rights, but he was. I got my dog, but he was. But he was, of course, kind of like, I don't want to say put on a pedestal, but because he did do a lot of great things, but he was the first openly gay man to be elected to such a high office. Sorry, my dog is trying to make their dog and the cat is crazy. I need this to be a video, not a, or like with video with camera on, I guess. Okay, but anyways, but he was assassinated along with George Moscone, the mayor, and it wasn't in an anti-gay murder. It was Dan White, another supervisor, freaked out, and that he famously argued Twinkie defense, which really was about low blood sugar, and it's a pretty crazy case. But he did get a lighter sentence. He was able to kind of use that effectively, and that was, oh my God, it was pretty. Cat just flew through the air, you guys. But it was pretty. I'm totally distracted. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Harvey Milk, and he was assassinated, of course, and like I said, and it was a big deal, but he was definitely seen as a really important figure in the movement, and we're definitely seeing progress on that front for sure. So good things to come. It's not an easy struggle, or it's a constant battle, a constant fight. But it is good to see when you look back and you do see some progress being made. So that is all. I gotta stop because I'm not doing a great job and the dog is distracting me. So I will stop this now. Sorry about that, you guys.